Banco Beverage. Proudly serving the Lehigh Valley for over 80 years. It's 80 years. Say it with me. 80 years. It's a long time. Over 30 plus breweries distributed, including Miller, Yuengling, Pabst, Guinness, Heineken, plus a generous variety of imported and specialty brands. They are located at Crackersport Road in Allentown, PA. Can't get any more local than that, Lehigh Valley. Banco Beverage is locally owned, operated since 1933. They have an exceptional team of staff dedicated to making their customers happy. If you're interested in having Banco be your purveyor for whatever bar or establishment you own, you can go to www.bancobeverage.com. I have the information in the ads as well, and I want to thank Banco for coming on and being a sponsor. Myself and Tony are working on some projects, and we are going to be bringing some really cool content, as well as Banco is going to be providing for a lot of the things that we do event-wise. So thank you, Banco, again. Thank you, Tony, and check out Banco Beverage. Giacomo's Italian Market. What an awesome relationship that has blossomed between Never Again Studio and Giacomo's Italian Market. We've been working with them with Studio Kitchen. We've been doing their Italian sausage and going to pop-ups with them. I love Sal. I love all the guys over there. It's always awesome collaborating. And you should go check them out. They got specialty Italian items. They're famous for the cheesesteak, the sausage. I can't even list everything because everything over there on that menu is fantastic. It's a home run. They are in Easton, PA, 700 Cattell Street. That's 700 Cattell Street in Easton, PA. They are over by College Hill. It's a dope area to check out. You need to go there. They got plenty of inside seating. They got all kinds of specialty Italian things off to the side, of pasta, vodka sauce. I usually just go there because I'm not making it as good as Sal. So I pick up my vodka sauce and, I say, what's up? We got some oils and all kinds of different things. But I can't say nothing but positive things over at Giacomo's. If you know them, you know them. If you don't know them, you're crazy and you need to get over there. That's 700 Cattell Street in Easton. That's Giacomo's Italian Market. Tell Sal what's up. The Curious Plantaholic, located in Nazareth and Clinton, New Jersey. The Nazareth location was opened first, and I met Jenny. We immediately hit it off. I knew we would start working on projects. She is the energy and the breath of fresh air that Nazareth needs. I started buying plants off of her, went down a rabbit hole. Now I got a bunch of plants I got to take care of. I'm trying my hardest. People are helping me. What an awesome shop for plants, retail. The energy in there is amazing. The employees in there are amazing. It's a plant and supply store focused on connecting with local communities, and boy, do they do a fantastic job at that. I can't say enough about these guys. You need to go to their locations and check them out, but they also have plants for sale online. It's thecuriousplantaholic.com, and right now they have 2 locations, which is Nazareth, and the other one is Clinton, New Jersey. Please check them out, and you can get more information at curiousplantaholic.com. I'm going to be working with Jenny on some other projects as well, so you will see us kind of creating a vibe and some things going on in Nazareth. We're really going to help kind of revitalize and get some things going on in Nazareth. So if you want to, please check out the Curious Plantaholics in Nazareth. Support local, support us. They support the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on as a sponsor. Clue what episode this is anymore. Probably 2 something. I can't wait to have a sip of this beer. Welcome to Never Again Radio, man.
Thanks for having me.
We went out last night. First, cheers. Thank you for coming through. We have talked about doing this for a while. You were traveling to Maryland from Boston. You stopped in Connecticut, and then you stopped here yesterday. We went out to dinner, and then we went to the world-famous Townhouse.
Yes, we did.
And got annihilated. So if this episode is rocky and you see us sweating, it's because we had fun last night.
Yep. Great night.
Sorry. High Life. Banco Beverage. I've always gotten intrigued by tattoo artists, and they always have really cool stories, or the origins of, it's the same with the jiu-jitsu guys, of like how they got started and where they got started. Where did your path with art come from, and where did you start realizing that you wanted to start doing art for a living?
I mean, I always did art as a kid. Like, they could never keep pens and pencils and crayons out of
Yeah.
their hands and stuff, just like every other artist says. And then I guess it was really like high school. I just realized there was nothing else that I was passionate and good about.
Were you drawing all the time in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was super into comic books. I was drawing comic book characters
Yeah.
and monsters.
What
and
comics
stuff.
were you into?
Deadpool.
Yeah.
I still have it. I found it. I found the original from '93, Deadpool #1.
That's what you were into.
amazing.
We were talking a little bit last night. The Punisher was my, specifically the Punisher War Journals. The color I always thought in that comic, because the Punisher comics change and there's different artists, but when they did the War Journal and it was like the Vietnam setting and it was like the greens and the purples and like the Hawaiian shirts, and I just remember like that comic is what brought me into comics and the Punisher, and I liked that. It was the guns and he killed people and there wasn't really a special power there. The Punisher was, and then there was Punisher versus Wolverine.
Yeah.
That was like such a big
Epic.
thing. I always preferred that Punisher. I did not like the Punisher who wore like the superhero outfit where it was like black and the white belt.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
preferred the War Journal series.
Yeah,
So that's
100%.
what got me into it. But I could never draw. I think all my brothers can draw except for me. But it was just something that I got very frustrated with. When did you realize that like you kind of had a knack for it? Was it in art class, or like did you guys have art class?
Yeah, we had art class. I was always doing art class in high school and everything, and like didn't matter what class I was in. I was always drawing on my papers, my tests, my notebooks. It was just filled with drawings.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I got in trouble in math class. They
Yeah.
had to call me down to the principal's office, call my mom in, and
tell
she
her.
was like, he's drawing, he's listening. Like, what are his grades? Oh, he's getting B's. Then what's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, if he's not drawing, he's going to be causing problems. So
Yeah.
how about you just let him draw? How about that? And the teacher just did not understand it at all. And the principal was just like, we're sorry. We're really sorry.
Yeah. Did you continue to draw outside of high school, or what?
Yeah, I went to art school.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, let's start there. Where did you go after high school?
I went to the Art Institute of Boston, which is like
Hell yeah.
right down in Fenway.
Yeah.
So I went from the woods to looking at Fenway Park every day and looking at the Prudential. And it was just, dude.
When did you make the switch to wanting to go to art school?
It was in high school. Like I knew.
Yeah.
I knew my junior year, like there's nothing else for me but art, some sort of art. I'm going to do art because I suck at everything else.
Yeah.
I ain't
did you
going
play
to
sports
NFL.
or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played football, hockey, lacrosse,
Nice.
snowboarded, like anything that I could hit somebody I was playing. That was my way to hit people and not go to jail.
Yeah. I played baseball, played football. I played sports pretty much up till high school, and then like I just didn't like the politics behind it and all that kind of bullshit that always ruins stuff. But I always liked football and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then
so fun.
Yeah. So then you went from high school and then right into art school. That must have been a big change, because I went down and looked at the Art Institute in New York. I was thinking about going there when I was older, but I would have had to like take a bus in and like just revolve that around working a full-time job. It's one thing I regret was, I don't know, because it's like sometimes I don't know if that would have formed me in a way that all this would be different.
Yeah.
But when I got to tour the campus and shit, and when I was looking into Full Sail University at one point, it's a massive change to get into something like that. Well, were you nervous the first day?
Yeah,
How did I
because
shit my pants?
In high school, you're on the top tier.
Yeah.
You know, you're always one of the better ones if you're that into art. You know, I was in the top, few percent or whatever. And then you go to college and you're just a minnow again.
Yeah.
You're a minnow swimming around. There's kids doing like full-blown portraits and they're not even trying. Like day one, they're just banging this stuff out and you're just going, it's gut check time. Like, holy crap. Like, this is real.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
like
those
an idiot.
situations always get weird, because then you start thinking like you're the lesser of the talent in the room, and then like I was always bad with that, with like a big mix of like people there. Like it was always like it was like you feel like you were like, when you go, like what you said is like you're the top dog or the top in your thing, and then when you get around other people, you start realizing like what your flaws are and stuff, and then that's hard to manage, like a mental state while having to stay in school to figure out what you were even going to do in art.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you're watching these kids do stuff effortlessly.
Yeah.
While you have to take the entire day or the entire class to do half of what they did. You
And it's all
stay on
nothing
point.
more than like people's different styles and how they just do their art work.
And then I found out too that like some of these kids went to art high school. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, that was definitely not a thing when I went.
I was like, wow.
We had your basic stuff and then your art class where it was like, you know, there was 1 or 2 kids that were good, and then the rest of it was just everybody just trying to get out of the class. And then, you know, it was never like we had an option with like tech and all that stuff. It was probably like right after I graduated is when there was more options for people coming down the pipe, where like you had like a fashion school you could go to, or you had like different things that you could do out of high school where you could stay on the path.
Yeah.
Because like art was like, oh, cool, you did all right in art, and then you didn't really have direction to get there.
Yeah.
So then to do an art high school and then go art institute after that, that's going to be wild to be around people like that.
Yeah. They made you look stupid. You felt horrible. Like,
Did you commute or did you stay there?
Year 1, I was in the dorm rooms.
Yeah, did you like that?
I hated it, dude.
Yeah.
It was literally like a jail cell. Like I could reach over and touch my roommate. It sucked. I did not like it at all.
Yeah.
And then year 2, I got my apartment with buddies and lived out on my own ever since.
Yeah.
And it was way better, dude. Just taking the train every day. Better than waiting for a bus or something like that. It was just way easier.
How long were you in the art institute for? Did you graduate from there?
Yeah. I ended up doing an extra semester.
What did you take there?
It was all illustration classes.
Yeah.
That was my path, was illustration, because I thought I was going to do comics. I thought I was going to go work for Marvel and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I found out how intense it is and it's not what I thought it was.
It's weird when you get in and you start digging into. I had a similar experience where I was looking into Full Sail, and I've always wanted to design video games. Mm-hmm. And when I had to sign up for that course, it was all math based because it's programming, and it's not like knowing what I know now, and after doing this, it's like I should have been more of the idea person or like the production end of it, and not the physical coding.
Right.
So like I could have went down a path to where I don't even know what I guess I would have to have gotten like a producer degree or something in that field. And then that would have been something that fit more for me. But what was overwhelming was I was terrible at math because I barely got out of high school. And then because of that, it was like I got into it and I was like, oh, this is like coding, and it's not like what you think it's going to be at all. And this is all like numbers. Yeah. And like it's probably similar to creating a website. Like it's all just back end stuff. And then when that kind of crushed, that was hard to swallow.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. So where was that moment at when how far along in school were you when you realized it wasn't something you wanted to do?
It was like sophomore year, junior year. I had a teacher who actually worked for Marvel, like way back in the day, the glory days. And he just told us how much it's changed, and it's become more of a assembly line. And there's these tight deadlines, and before it was like very free.
Yeah.
Like as long as the work got done, they didn't care. You could stay there overnight and work and get stuff done and go enjoy the day. Things like that. Like they used to go play football in Central Park and stuff like that. If you had like a drawing block, they'd all get together and just go have fun. And then all of a sudden it just started changing and getting worse. And like if you missed one deadline, you were automatically fired. Just poof. Because they know there's a whole crop of kids waiting to come in.
That's crazy.
And once I heard that stuff, I'm like, maybe it's not for me, because it's harder for me to draw. Like it takes me a little bit more time. So maybe that's not the path I need to go. Like I need something a little bit more free. And then I started exploring painting, and I was getting into like graffiti and stuff.
I didn't know you got into graffiti.
I never painted letters, man, but I painted monsters and stuff. Like I did a couple of murals, but I never went out in the street and did it. It was always fascinating. Like loved looking at it, but just couldn't wrap my mind around it.
It's a very I've always been obsessed with graffiti. It's one of my favorite styles of art. I think just growing up in the 80s and a lot of like, it was always like glorified and looked really cool because I think graffiti was coming through at that time. There's a couple documentaries on it where it like really pinpoints like the genre and when it started and how much I liked it. And I always loved like the trains and like where, even when I still go into the city now, it's like, I guess it's more acceptable, but like to me, it's like art and it gives the city like color. Yeah. Even when we were driving down to breakfast at Mitzi's and there was that graffiti underneath the bridge, like I like color in, because you were like, how did you describe Nazareth? You said it's concrete and woods.
Concrete and farmland.
Yeah, concrete and farmland. I had the privilege of Reppy hooked me up with this guy, Say One. His name was Joel, and he was a tattoo artist, and he ran this place or a tattoo shop called Hellbound, and he was really ahead of his time and a very unique person, and I've never met anyone like him. And when we started working together, he started designing some T-shirts and stuff for me, and he would go down to 5 Points in Brooklyn. I think it's in Brooklyn. It was this giant.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking
giant
about.
building that was like they ended up somebody bought it and ended up whitewashing it, and they actually lost a lawsuit because it was considered one of the world's largest outside like living museums that like was created by normal people. So when the guy just went in and whitewashed it because they were like trying to protest that this was a museum, I think they got awarded a couple $1 million.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the artist, like the one guy Mears, I keep trying to get him on the show. But anyways, Joel would go down there and paint, and he was like, I was like just started fucking around with making videos, and I have a couple of them on YouTube still. And Joel, I would go down and I would film Joel, and then I would do time lapse stuff. So I would just film him doing it. But I literally got to meet like top tier New York City graffiti artists because you weren't allowed to just go down there. You had to be given a spot. So you basically had to be good enough, like you would have to go up, you'd ask Mears whether you paid for it or were given it, but they always let Joel did it because Joel was in a wheelchair and he still like did his graffiti was, I guess he was doing before he was in a wheelchair, but he still did graffiti after he was in a wheelchair.
That's crazy.
So I would go down there and we would find these spots and I would set up, and like, it was a very unique time that I'll never forget where like, I really enjoyed, like, you know, like the cities around you hear horns, fuck you, burp, burp, burp. There's a crackhead, you know, they're kicking out of the spot because he's trying to hide behind a dumpster, and there's just people painting graffiti. It was fucking rad, and Joel was obsessed with it, and we would go down until pretty much it would be snowing, and then he couldn't do it, and then like his entire mood would change because he couldn't like go out and paint. And then he used to do some spots up at Penn Skate. He did this massive Never Again, just some cool shit. I was just some dumb kid telling him my fucking ideas, and he believed in it, and he fucked with me, and it was cool.
That's awesome.
But I've been obsessed with graffiti for a very long time. What was it like dabbling in that for you? Because I'm sure it's cool as an artist to be able to go into a different, and I see it with a couple of artist friends of mine, like Riz Art just started getting into graffiti, but it's got to be challenging but also unique to be able to take your artistic skill and go from painting and then go into graffiti, because it's almost like you got to learn the whole thing all over again, right?
Yeah, it's its own animal, and like I only did a couple of murals, and it was a learning experience, man. Working with spray cans and stuff,
It's
never
wild.
using the things before, and I kind of mixed in
tips.
that. Yeah, man, it was a learning experience, and I didn't have anybody coaching me and whatnot.
Yeah.
I was just doing it with our crew for an art show, and I ended up mixing a lot of stuff. Like I went in with house paint and painted it like that too, and just did whatever I had to do to get the job done. But it's a lot harder, and I respect those dudes.
It's wild
to
with
the
all the different
most, man.
all the different tips, and you get like wide sprays, and then there's like so many different
Color
forms.
blends and everything.
Yeah,
It blows my mind, man. Like I watch a bunch of documentaries just like you, and it's just my jaw is always on the ground. Like I can't. My brain doesn't work like that. I can't see it on a building, you know.
Because sometimes I can't even read what they put. And then like they have their own, like it's cool because I'm always fascinated with like crews and gangs and stuff. So it was always like exciting to me that like, you know, it was different crews that were painting and like they were like representing, and like I really liked the whole thing behind it. Like it's just like the group mentality, and then like, you know, and then even when you get into the other stuff where it's just like people pretty much just like tagging, and then there's people who would just like tag, they'll go into a store with a marker and just tag everything. Like there's some cool
like turf
documentaries. Yeah.
Dude, watch Deepest Depth of the Burrow.
Yeah.
And that's with Nikos or Nichos, however you say it.
Yeah.
And the Weird Crew. It's unreal. They travel around the world and do this stuff.
Yeah.
He does these deconstructed animals. So it's almost like a diagram. Like the animal comes apart and it's got all the insides and everything. And that's what he paints. That's huge
crazy.
murals, like whole sides of buildings. It's not just like a little wall. And he's got a whole crew that does it.
I started getting really into the documentaries when I think the first Banksy one came out, and it was like enter through the gift shop or whatever it is.
Exit through the gift shop.
Yeah, and then like the Space Invader dude who like does like the tile fucking Space Invader stuff, and he like puts them up, and then like that was where like I saw like that documentary is really fucking cool. Like how you saw how Obey got started with the wheat pasting, and how he was just putting shit up around the city, and I just think it's still wild too that like they still don't know like who Banksy is, and like he's still been able to hide his identity in a time where
everything's recorded and
documented.
Yeah.
I like his street art where he would like put stuff up, and I don't understand most of the political ties to it, but like, you know, when he was doing the early stuff where he put like the fucking the phone booth, and it was like bent over with like an axe in it, and like just stuff like that. And then like when he came into New York, it was wild too, because he came into New York, people knew he was there. He did all this crazy shit and then left, and nobody saw who he was.
Yeah, in and out. Quick.
Yeah,
silent.
That stuff's so cool. So where did you go once you were kind of doing your art and the graffiti and all that? Like, where was your path taking you at that point?
So I wanted to get into painting a lot more, which I never thought I would. I hated painting in high school, but started getting into that.
Canvas painting?
Yeah, all different kinds too. Oil and acrylic, using paint markers, spray paint, doing a little bit of everything. And I was kind of mixing comic book style characters and monsters with graffiti background, spray paint background,
That's cool.
Drippy background, stuff like that. Painting skate decks, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I was just going to do gallery shows. Like I thought I was just going to go right into doing gallery shows, and that was going to be the end, because that's what all these guys do. Yeah, huge mistake. Nobody tells you how hard it is.
Yeah,
man. Nobody tells you how to go about it.
Yep.
It's kind of like fend for yourself, figure it out. If you can figure it out and do it, it's more of like who you know than what you know.
Yeah.
If you can get in at a gallery and they like your work, then you can start having
So
shows.
basically the goal is to get in at a gallery, and then you can start selling your work, and then there's people that will pay top dollar for it. I remember when when I was down there, like he was talking about how like you know, like the clothing stores and whatnot have their display windows, and he was paid to do like a Louis Vuitton thing or something like that. One of the top clothing companies, like he did their window.
That's
and
cool.
like, you know what I mean? So it's like it was always seemed like you had to find like pockets of like where you can make money with your art, which is probably really fucking hard to do, especially back when Instagram and all that shit wasn't out yet.
Yeah, wasn't out.
Yeah.
Like you literally, what we were taught was hit the pavement with a portfolio.
Yeah.
Which is completely obsolete. Like that didn't work at all, man. That's back in the 80s and 70s, you know?
Yeah.
You don't see people walking around portfolios, showing off their portfolios. That's not how it goes. It's all digital. It's all emails and stuff. Links to your online portfolio.
What were you doing for work at the time?
I was a bouncer.
Bouncing?
Yeah, I was getting paid to beat people up in Boston.
Bouncing in Boston must have been wild.
It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. From as soon as I got there, you know. So I'm 18, coming from the woods in suburbia. Never really been in a fight besides on the football field or something. And then all of a sudden I'm getting in brawls with these Guido dudes and stuff, rhinestone shirts, and it was insane, man. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Little 18-year-old me, and then all of a sudden I got thrown right into the fire, and that was it. Dude.
How long did you bounce for?
13 years.
Damn. So you basically were you were paying the bills with bouncing, and was it at the same place, or did you go to different places?
All over, man. I worked all over the city. I worked in a bunch of different nightclubs. I worked at sports bars, dive bars.
Yeah.
College bars, everything.
So basically, I forgot, like, because I know a couple friends who like would work the door, and then like tattoo artists that would work the door, and then it was just extra cash they could pick up. And then I mean, it's pretty much the same as bartending, where you just kind of like, you know, when I bartended, I, you know, bounced all over because you have a skill set that you can kind of just pick up and do. So when the gallery stuff wasn't working out, what were your kind of options left at that point?
It literally, you just have to start trying to come up with things, trying to find other galleries to go to, trying to find art shows to get involved in, just trying to implement yourself into the art world the best you can. And it's tough, man. Especially in Boston, there weren't too many options. There's really only a couple galleries that do like urban style graffiti stuff or that style painting and everything. And unless you knew them, they didn't really care because they cared about their friends.
How hard was that to keep pushing in the direction of doing it?
It was tough, man, especially like you get towards the end of school, you have your panel, like they go over all your work and everything, and they tell you have a rock solid portfolio, and then you go to apply to all these different jobs and firms and stuff,
Yeah.
and don't even get an email back. And I did that for 5 years.
Yeah, it's
And
very
it's just crazy.
I remember it's probably similar to like I was trying to find like a real job, and like I don't even know if I was doing Never Again yet. It was just probably at a time when it was just kind of like early on, and it was just not, I wasn't able to find a job, so like I was going through a ton of like what was it called, like doing, like applying at hospitals and different places where like it's taking a month, and like you just have to kind of sit around and wait, and it's like I didn't want to be a bartender at that point. It was just the money that was coming in was good, and it was easy to do, and I was good at it. And so like it's very discouraging when you're trying to get somewhere and you keep having these roadblocks. I mean, like your first one's like, all right, well the comic stuff's not going to work out, and then now it's like you feel like, all right, well I don't have direction anymore.
Yeah.
And then when you're trying to find direction and it like keeps going different ways, it's very difficult when you start hitting fucking walls, and it's super discouraging, and you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I had to start learning digital stuff because I was super traditional. I hated the computer. I wanted nothing to do with Photoshop or anything like that. And I had to completely switch gears and get into what do you call it? Design work, basically.
Yeah.
I was getting into design work and doing anything, because then I thought, well, I love snowboarding and all that. Maybe I'll get into one of the snowboard companies, design snowboards, apparel,
which is
stuff like
total
that.
different look on art and everything.
Yeah. So I had to completely shift. I made a small t-shirt company for myself. Did
What was the name
everything.
of it?
Sleeping Giant.
Nice. That's cool.
It was cool, man. Like we did a t-shirt, a hoodie. We did a tall tee for all the snowboarders and skiers, and a hat, beanie.
Yeah.
We did that, and did all the digital production, all the marketing stuff myself, and then had my buddy build the website for me and everything.
At that time, was there Instagram and all that stuff, or was that kind of
It just came out.
Yeah.
Just.
So it was like pictures only you could fuck with.
Yeah. There's no videos, really.
Yeah.
It was just pictures, and nobody even knew how to use it. No one showed you how to use it. Like, it wasn't a thing. It was more like Facebook, just share with your friends, you know? Didn't even know what a hashtag was.
Well, what's crazy is Instagram has changed so much, where when it first started, like, you could only use pictures.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you could only share pictures off your phone. Like, you couldn't upload shit. And then, like that was the very start. There was, like, workarounds where I'd have to use, like, Dropbox, then mail the picture to myself, then download it into my phone, and then I could put it up. But it wasn't easy to put up, like, because Instagram from the beginning was something that I think it was for, like, you take a picture with your phone, because I don't even think you were allowed, people were uploading photography at that time, because the early onset, it was hard to really like promote or do anything to make money off of it. Like, the platform wasn't built to make money yet.
Yeah, not at all, man. It literally was just to share with your friends.
Yes.
And random people. There was no money in it. And like, again, I think that was before Facebook went public, probably.
Yeah.
That was probably right around the time.
And then
everything changed.
But then I remember seeing it to be start using as a tool is where tattoo artists were, it was a very good tool for tattoo artists, because you're taking pictures of your stuff and you're sharing it, and then it'd be like, hey, we got time, and then I saw people starting to put their hours up and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, like you could really fucking, start communicating with people in order for it to work.
Yeah. It's an awesome tool, man. Again, like, it changed so far. But yeah, now you can not just use it to market yourself, but I can see what's going on elsewhere in the world every day. So I can see what's going on in England, in Russia, in Sweden, whatever. I can see what these other artists are doing, what they're producing, how they're pushing the art to another level.
It's crazy following them.
And it's amazing.
It's crazy following them for like seeing how the different styles change too. Like, where now it's like, if you follow a tattoo artist, sometimes it's just kind of the same shit over and over and over and over. But then I start finding these, like, somebody will share a different style of tattooing, where, like, some people just do, like, big, thick lines. It almost looks like a watercolor. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, it started, like, really opening the grounds to, like, finding all these different artists that have all these different styles. And then, like, I don't know, I think the tattoo industry is one of the most benefited industries from Instagram.
Yeah, it really has, because it has allowed you to connect with so many more people.
Yeah, like
everybody
you can
has
do all
Instagram
of your
now.
booking
Yeah,
just through Instagram.
yeah, which turns into a headache.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I just like call the shop.
Yeah. That's how I do everything now. I'm just like,
it.
just get on the phone with me, and then I'll talk to you, and then I'll put you in the book. I can't wait till somebody else has to do that.
Yeah.
So when did the tattoo? Were you getting tattooed at the time? Have you always been getting tattooed? Like, when did the whole tattoo thing kind of start slowly evolving?
I started getting tattooed pretty much right at 21.
Yeah, same.
And just took off from there. I mean, but I was a broke college kid, so I wasn't getting too much. I got one big project started, and then didn't get tattooed for a while until I met the dudes who ended up teaching me.
Yeah.
And they liked my artwork, because I used to have art shows at the tattoo shop. So they traded me. They were like, "Oh, I'll take those 2 paintings. What do you want?" Like, cool. Do a half sleeve on you. There we go.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you before, like when I lived in Virginia, you just kind of start hanging out at a shop, and then, you know, they don't beat you up on price because you're just the guy who's there every day. And then, you know, you just help out with stupid little stuff like sweeping or helping them close the shop up. And then eventually, like, you just become friends with people and start getting tattooed.
Yeah. It took off from there, but I never thought I would be tattooing for a job, for a career. Like, if you'd asked me 15 years ago, I would have said, there's no way in hell. Like, I just don't have any interest in it.
Yeah.
I loved getting tattooed, but I thought that if I became a tattoo artist, that I would end up hating the industry instantly. Like, I don't know how to explain it better, but
No, I mean, it makes sense. Like, sometimes when you work places, you know, like, probably it came from you finding out how much comics ruined it for you. So, I mean, I could see not wanting to pursue it because it becomes a job. Like, this is a job to me now. It's not the same as it is when I started it. Like, I still enjoy doing it, but sometimes it's, like, hard to turn all the lights down. And when I start doing it, I'm good. But, like, it's definitely turning into something that, which is why I start doing, like, the music stuff, and, like, why I start doing the clothing still, because it's like I need something to go in and out of, or else this will just be, it'll ruin itself.
Yeah, it gets monotonizing.
It turns into a job just like anything else, because it's work. It's you know, in the beginning it was like I was trying to get here. Now that I'm here, it's like, all right, well, how do we make this bigger? How do we make this better? How do, you know, that's why, like, I'm excited to move and do all that stuff, because, like, you know, I need my palette changed. And when your brain's built like that, you have to do that, or it leads to, like, being depressed. And, like, there's just something where there was a point where I started looking at what I was doing from the perspective of not a business. And I'm like, oh, this is what you have to do. Like, if I wasn't doing this, you know, I would be recording music. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be making food, because that's creative. And, like, I need to constantly be creative, or else my brain doesn't work correctly.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It fucking kills me that I don't have more time to paint. I need to make more time to paint, because that's what I love to do. And I have stacks of started paintings, but nowhere near finished, and I stare at them. Then I get anxiety about it. I don't want to ruin them. And then, you know, you go to paint them, and then I'm like, well, I need to get this work done.
Yeah,
I need drawings to do for tattooing.
You start building it up in your head, like God. It's like you got to do taxes or something.
Yeah, and then, no, I just want to sit down and paint. But yeah, I get too worried that I'm going to ruin them, and it's crazy. But yeah, I wish I had more time. Like, I would love to take an extra day off just so I could paint.
Yeah.
I love it, you know. And when I'm not drawing and painting, I get irritable. I get moody.
So you were bouncing, and then you know, you kind of start getting tattooed. You're not really getting into all of the different avenues you want to do with art. So when did it start becoming a serious thing where, like, you know, you start learning how to tattoo, and then, you know, you can make a great living off of tattooing?
So it went a crazy way. So the guys who ended up teaching me to tattoo, they'd asked me to apprentice when I was still in college. And at that point I was like, you know, absolutely not. And my parents would kill me if I dropped out of school 3.5 years in. Like, no, that's not happening. I got to finish, and then we'll figure it out from there. And after so many applications sent out for illustration jobs or design jobs. And
what were you applying for?
Illustration firms, like Burton Snowboarding. I applied to them, Ride, K2.
They just not get back to you? Is that how that
pretty
works?
Pretty much most of them.
They just don't send anything back?
Dude, they don't even send an email. One of them did. Rome Snowboard sent me one back saying that, you know, they'd already filled the position. They appreciated it, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, after years of doing that, I was.
And how do you even find those jobs? You got to go to like Burton.com and then like.
Yeah, there's websites. I can't remember the name of them, but they were more geared towards design rather than illustration.
Yeah.
And they have listings of all the jobs available in the industry, and you can find stuff in action sports or whatever. But you got to hunt for it, man. There's no just yellow pages of hey. We're all hiring.
That's how finding a job was back in the day. Now you just go on the website and it'll be like hiring, and you click on it.
It's crazy. So I did that for a long time. It was like 5 years after graduating. I applied and applied and applied. And finally they kept asking me about apprenticing. And I said, you know what? Maybe something's there. You know, like at least that's a job. It gets me in the door. And it didn't end up working out at that shop. Personal differences with somebody there. So I had nowhere else to go. So I ended up moving home with my parents. They were in Maryland at the time. So I moved down there for a year.
Do you like Maryland?
Nah, man. It's too hot. Dude, it's weird. It's so weird. It's hot. I mean, it's cool. Like, everybody's nice, which is just weird for me coming from Boston, because the old school Boston, everybody's just guarded and they don't talk to you. But, it's just too hot, and I didn't like it. We're in suburbia, man. It's a neighborhood inside a neighborhood inside a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And strip malls. Like, there's no more wilderness, and I don't like that.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's how Virginia was. It's like you have Richmond, but then on the outside of Virginia, it's just complex. You know, your Kroger, GameStop, and it's the same shit in each complex, a couple miles, and then I was just like, man, this is crazy.
Dude, literally, like Maryland all the way through northern Virginia. It's just suburbia now. It's crazy. Like, because, again, I lived there when I was a child as well. All those places are gone. Like, all those fields and farms and stuff are gone. It's just houses and condos. And,
do you prefer the food in Maryland or in Boston?
Boston. Get a little bit more.
What's Boston got for food?
Seafood's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But
it's probably fresh.
Can't get better, you know? It's so good, though. But they have a little bit of everything. It's a melting pot, man.
Yeah.
New England is a melting pot. There's everything there.
I've never been to Boston. My friend lives there.
You're going to come
She has
man.
a beach house, and she just keeps asking me to come down, and I just keep not going.
Yeah, you got to come
Well, it's like the other thing, too, is like, you know, it's like I have all this stuff going on, and then it's like that is quite a drive. And then it's like, you know, and then it's like, all right, well, I got to plan all this out. You got to plan it a week ahead. But it's so funny because I've been telling her I've been coming down, and she's went through so many apartments now that she owns a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's here this week. I'm going to actually podcast her with her tomorrow. But yeah, I really want to go. I want to check it out. It looks like a really cool place. I think there's a ton of restaurants there that I would really get into.
Again, we were talking.
Plenty of bars.
Pandemic destroyed Boston as far as the restaurant industry went. It was just a catastrophe. Like, so many places closed down. The last thing I saw was like a list of 50 bars and restaurants that closed during the pandemic. So I can't even tell you where to go anymore because I don't know what's there.
Yeah.
Like, I went down my old stomping grounds and everything is closed. So I'm a terrible tour guide now, but I never go into the city. I'm outside the city now, so I only go in for games. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is.
So where so now you start apprenticing with them pretty seriously?
No. So I moved down to Maryland.
You moved back home.
And I'm just
that's always
bartending,
fun.
bar backing, doing everything down there.
Yeah. Living at home.
And somebody told me, a bartender told me, they're like, yeah, this is the shop to go to, Black Label Society. They're like, go talk to them, and, you know, if you got talent, they'll talk to you. Like, tell them I sent you because I'm good friends with them. So I go down there, and basically they were like, shop opens at noon. Come draw and paint with us. We'll see what's up. Yeah. And I did that for like a year. I went there every day, just drew and paint with them, and they didn't have me like sweeping and doing anything yet because they didn't give me the job yet.
Yeah,
they just wanted to see what I had.
It was like pre-apprentice.
Yeah. Eventually, it was like a year of that, and I was doing it like every day as much as I could until I had to go to work or go take care of my dog. And I asked him officially. I said, "Hey, man, like, can I officially become an apprentice?" And it just wasn't going to work out.
They were like, "No."
Yeah.
They said no.
Yeah, and it was like, dude, it burned so bad at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I was so angry.
Those are moments that like will change you in the decisions you make after that moment. I remember a lot of things not going right with apparel for me. Yeah. And you know, I wasn't making any money. I would do conventions and I would go there, and that ride home after not selling any t-shirts and when shit like that doesn't work out, you pretty much have a choice of And most people just kind of fold it up, and they take that loss, and they take that feeling, and they don't try anything ever again, or they get out of what they loved completely. And people have done that to me in the food industry. It just made me hate it so much. And then I left, and like I didn't touch food for 4 years. And then when I started cooking again, doing the pop-ups, I was like, why did I let somebody else dictate something that I love? And it's a hard fucking pill to swallow, especially for you who was getting your door closed constantly on like, you know, all right, well, the comic thing didn't work out. All right, well, and I feel like a lot of people go through this, but then most people will just get a job and kind of settle. And then they just kind of have this like thing that they never accomplished, and it changes them. So like for you, how hard was that to swallow? Because at this point you have gotten no from anything you tried to do with your passion.
It was absolutely brutal. Like I remember I was furious at that time because I was young and dumb and just angry.
You're just like Monster Energy and start smashing drywall.
Exactly. I would have had to fix it though because of my parents' house anyway.
Yeah.
But dude, it crushed me, and it also lit a fire under me. But what happened next is what really did it. I was telling my parents at dinner, you know, like I didn't get the job. Like, well, what are you gonna do? And I was like, well, I gotta regroup. I gotta like redo my portfolio, go to another shop, you know, like start completely over and show these dudes. And it's
tough
serious.
It's tough to walk away from, you know, when somebody gives you the idea of like, hey, that's the door to open. You don't know that sometimes that isn't the door that's gonna open for you. So it's like you wrap your head around, this is it, this is the idea. And that's how I used to be with jobs, where like, you know, I'd be like, oh, well, I need to work at the hospital because that's what my mom will want me to do, and it's good money and it's insurance, and you start having all this padding of like, this is the correct way to go. And then when you go that route and they don't hire you, or like you get told no, you basically have to just start over, which is very difficult to do.
So yeah, I told them that, and my mom was not having it. She was pissed, and they'll never forget. She basically was like, yeah, or Costco's hiring. They need cart pushers.
That's what you want to hear too.
Maybe you should go do that and start making some money. And I didn't even I didn't finish dinner. I walked away. And I went downstairs and I called everybody I knew in the industry back in Boston, and I got an apprenticeship right then and there. And I was like, well, I can't come up tomorrow, but I'm like, dude, give me 2 months to save up some money, because I know that this is full time. It's open to close 7 days a week. You don't get days off. So
those moments are tough when, you know, my parents didn't really get what I was doing for a long time, and they didn't really see what I was doing for and they still can't wrap their head around it. They're from a generation, and I'll be there one day. They're from a generation where, like, you know, I see myself not caring about like take Snapchat, for instance, or even Twitter. Like I don't fuck with it because I just don't care about learning it and like using it. And it is beneficial, but like I see now why like my, you know, older generations, they don't care about some of the shit that's going on. Like my parents still don't understand like streaming. You know what I mean? But like they don't care because they're like, well, whatever.
It's beyond them.
I don't, you know.
I don't have the time to learn this.
This is the end.
I can't tie my own shoe.
I'm barely making it to the bathroom to take a shit, let alone fucking do I care about how fucking Netflix works. Like the other day I still was talking to my mom, and I'm like telling her, I'm like, yo, you can just set up automatic payments for all of your bills. And like my mom still mails bills in, or we'll drive to like Kohl's and pay the bill that way. But like they just don't, and I know that's how we will be. So it's like you know, it's tough when your parents don't really got your back in those situations, and it's just like a motherly thing where I don't know how many times my parents like were like, hey, like you need to get a job. And I'm like, I know I need to get a fucking job. Like I don't need to be told that while I'm trying to fucking work out a very frustrating moment in my life. Well, you should push carts.
Like, dude, I just saw red, man. Like just red. I wanted to kill everyone. And yeah, man, I went and got an apprenticeship that fucking night and came up with a game plan. I was like, I'm gonna work for like 2 months.
Where'd you work?
Off. I was working at a bar.
Still bouncing.
No, I was bar backing.
And
it sucked, dude. It sucked.
Bar backing sucks.
Especially there, the dishwasher, like the glass washer, was in the back, and you had to walk through these narrow pillars with the glass rack up over your head. And of course, that's where everyone wants to stand. So you're constantly just yelling and doing this. Plus, I had to cook the food late night, do everything, and then clean. It was insane. But yeah, I ground it out, worked my ass off, saved up like $2,000, and then went to Boston. But like
back to Boston.
I went upstairs. I told my parents, like right after I made those calls, came up with a plan, told them. And they flipped. Dude, my mom was so furious.
Because she wanted you to stay?
And she just wanted me to get a job and be secure rather than chasing this.
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes because you get it from friends and family and whatnot. But it's like you don't want to not be stable. Like, so basically, like I've been grinding this out since I was 28. And then like I make enough to pay the bills and get by with some extra money if I do some pop-ups, but like I'm free and I'm not depressed and I have the freedom to do what we did. Like I've always wanted someone to come into town and crash here and set it up and do what we're doing and then take him out and you know what I mean? Like, so it's like that was work. And like that's cool that like I created that. Like we went out last night, I had a blast, and like we went to breakfast this morning, and we're gonna go see Keith after this, and it's like that's what I want to do. But I always pictured doing that when I was like washing dishes or cooking, and like and I always bring this back up where it was seeing Action Bronson do all these different things. Like he's still like he put a flea market on the other day. He's got a sneaker coming out with New Balance. Like he's just always passionately making money off of creative things, and it's like. When you kind of get in that route to do something like that, it's not the easiest path to get there. And while you're trying to get there, you don't need to hear, hey, you know what else is like all these things that you worry about and don't get any sleep about at night because like that like your mouth hurts, but you can't afford to go to the fucking dentist, and like you can't go to the doctor all the time, so you're just getting by on like over the counter stuff, and like your back's fucked up constantly. Like you don't need to tell me my situation sucks.
I'm living it.
Yeah, I've been fucking grinding everything out down here for the past fucking 5 years, and like next year is the only time that I'll be stable from 28. So from 28 to 40, I'll be 43. Yeah. That's how long it took for me to get insurance back and all this shit back. Like it ain't something that just happens when you do it. And that grind was awful. Dude, there's no windows down here. Yeah. Like it was terrible to get through COVID down here. Like it was a nightmare. And like I'm over the space. I outgrew it. I'm like, I'm looking for a new fucking material to paint on and hang all my art up on. And it's like, I don't need to be reminded like, hey man, you know what? Like you do need insurance. It's like, you really think that I don't think about all that shit? You should probably make some more money. Yes, that would be nice, but like in order to get here, which you'll never understand because you didn't do this. Yeah. So now I have to have a conversation with somebody who never would want to or try to do what I'm doing because they're afraid of, like I tell everybody all the time, like I'm fortunate enough if that restaurant is successful, that this worked out. And I could either have been stuck here or lost everything along the way and would have been like, hey, this was exactly what they said, a terrible idea. But I talked about it with a photographer that came on where it's like, you oddly don't get support from people because it's almost like their insecurities come out in the process of like doing the whole thing.
They'd rather have you be safe than to chase that and go out on a limb. But, like my dad talked to me after that conversation, and he was downstairs and he's like, dude, I understand what you're doing, but like, I hope you know what you're doing. I know that you have it.
It's got to be scary as a parent.
Yeah. Yeah. To watch your kid up. Like my plan was literally to go up there and live out of my truck.
Yeah.
I was going to be homeless knowing.
But what's funny is that's like that's something people do now. Like, I'll just be homeless.
Dude, I had to do whatever I had to do to make it happen.
Well, I mean, that's how I was with this. I gave up my apartment. Yeah. I gave up my apartment. I had an apartment I was paying. It was an awesome apartment up here. It was a 1-bedroom, had a big-ass living room, wood floors. I was paying like $7.15 a month. I was the youngest guy there. And everyone else it was just old people. There was no bullshit going on. Hey, Mike, can you fucking jump my car? It was right up the road. It was awesome. It would fucking chicks, bring them over. Hey, this is a cool spot. It worked. And then it's like I gave that up for the idea of what I'm doing now. But getting here was a fuck ton of work.
Yeah, man. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tear, man.
It's so much sacrifice that nobody ever talks about. I tell everybody, I'm like, I don't have a girlfriend. I'm not married. And it's because I put this before everything else. And you have to do that. It's fucked everything up in my life, but it's going to pay back everything that I wanted, because everything that it fucked up were the ideas of other people that they told me was, well, you should be married by now. Yeah. You should have kids by now. You should do this. And like, that is one thing that's coming out from how fucked up everything is now, is I feel like people are finally being open-minded to, it's not wrong to go a different way. Because like my parents, and I don't blame them, but like, you know, they probably just wanted me to get a job, get married in a Catholic church, have kids. Like 2 of my brothers have done that. Yeah. But like, you know, I felt like I was doing something wrong the entire time. Now they get it, and they're like, oh, you're opening a restaurant, and you were on Netflix, and fuck. I'm like, yeah, that's not what it was at all. Yeah. Like,
they didn't understand really until recently. My mom still, like, she doesn't understand why people get what they get tattooed. But she sees the work and she loves it. She's like, I would never get that. I don't understand it, but like, you can tell it's done well. But I mean, fuck, dude, I just tattooed her this year. Yeah, you know, this is from the lady who hated him so much she wanted me out of the house. You know,
your smile in that picture says everything about it.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Like, not many people get to tattoo their mom. You know, you talk to all the artists, not many. You know, and it was her. I think it was her way of, taking a huge interest and
giving you a nod for like you.
Yeah, and that's what I got out of it, because before, it wasn't much, because she didn't understand. She didn't know how to talk about it. You know, she didn't want to get me riled up, or she thought she was going to get me riled up by talking to me about what I do, and that wasn't the case. It just, it was cool to tattoo her this year. And
so when you moved to Boston, back to Boston, what was that like going there? What was that drive there? I mean, were you motivated and were you like, fuck yeah, this is it? Or was there a part of you that was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go because everything doesn't go? And that was when I got older, that's something that I learned, is like the idea of what you want to happen is the idea of what happens.
Yeah, I was amped up, like getting in the car and making the drive, like pumped to go home and everything, but then it sets in, like, as you're getting closer, that
I have nowhere to live.
Yeah, I'm literally, so I had set it up with one of my buddies. Like, no one knew the situation, no one knew what was going on. I told like 2 people what was happening. Yeah. And one of them gave me a spare room for like 3 months. And he was like, yeah, you can live here, chip in for bills, 3 months though, like that's it, and it was amazing. It's what I needed, man. Like, cool. Like 3 months, thank you, I appreciate it. And then I knew after that it was go time. It was going to be either, am I going to be making money to get an apartment, or am I sleeping in my truck? Yeah. And that it was the latter. Like, it happened. I was living out of my truck. Yeah. And I was sleeping at the shop too, like secretly. At the shop.
when I first started doing the podcasting and stuff, I used to talk to and I still talk to him, just not as much because we're busy, but Zach from Finishers, and him and JM had lived in the dojo, and like they lived there together, and like we're eating chicken nuggets and ramen and like and then you start figuring out how to live that way, and it's not fun. It's almost like urban camping, and then like you really got to live differently than everyone else. And then when I started kind of sleeping at the studios because I didn't want to go home, or I was working too much at the studio, I remember asking Zach, like, because I don't have a shower here. And that was always like a big thing. And Zach was like, he's like, just get a fucking member at Planet Fitness, which is across the fucking street. $10. And you can get $10 a month, and you can go there and shower. And that's what I did. I would wake up here. I would go to fucking Planet Fitness. I'd take a shower. I'd come back. And then it was like, then you would get to work. And then it's like, I went to my parents a lot, and I'm fortunate that my parents are super supportive, and like, regardless of them not understanding the idea, they always fed me. I was always allowed to do laundry there. I was always allowed to, it was like a commissary to kind of come and go. And like, I developed this different relationship with my parents that like my brothers don't have because they're like roommates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I talked to my mom. I called her last night from the bar because the Chiefs game was on, but like that's because I have
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. It was always like, you know, it was always these relationships that like I built with them that like I always was ashamed of going back and moving. And like when people say they move home, they're like, oh, I'm like, yo, you should enjoy that more.
Yeah.
Like I spend time with my parents and my brothers don't get to do that. Like I know what's going on at home.
When I moved home, it was just we were butting heads a lot.
Oh,
So
dude,
I wasn't
I
pumped
found
to go
out through
home.
one of my brothers that my dad was purposely fighting with me every day, so it was not enjoyable to be there, and I would leave. And my brother goes, Dad, like, why are you doing that? Like, he's trying to leave, and you're making it way more difficult. And he's like, well, I don't want him to get comfortable here because then he's going to want to stay longer. And I'm like, I don't want to be here at all.
Yeah.
I don't want to come here to fuck. Like, like I don't want to do anything here, and I don't even want to be here. You don't think I want an apartment?
Yeah.
Like, I want my own space. I don't think it's cool to make a section of the basement better.
Exactly.
But yeah, I found that out that my dad was purposefully fighting with me every single day, so I would leave.
That's
and then
hilarious.
Our relationship's normal now, but for almost my entire life it was not.
Yeah.
It was like shit like that where like he was like awkwardly trying to like learn a lesson, and I'm like, this is not how I learn. Like, what are you doing? So now you're like living out of your car and you're just apprenticing?
Yeah, dude, you were literally open to close. You're mopping the floor. You're cleaning everything in the shop.
Were you
dusting.
tattooing it all at the time?
No, dude,
Yeah.
nothing. It was literally, I had to take care of everything in the shop. I had to make orders. I had to make the artist orders, clean the floors, go get them lunch, go get them a Diet Coke because they decided it wanted to be Diet Coke instead of regular Coke. Then they wanted gum, so I had to go back and get gum. Like, dude, it was insane.
Yeah.
They had me cooking on a hibachi grill, like a little charcoal grill, on a fire escape on the second floor. Charcoal grill, cooking sausages, chicken wings, corn on the cob, like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm out there grilling all summer long, answering phones, running in, making appointments, checking people out, whatever.
Yeah.
Making sure it doesn't get burnt.
And you weren't getting paid at all, were you?
No, nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was insane.
How long were you in your car for?
It was like a year plus.
We're just crashing at the shop and sleeping in the truck?
Yeah.
What were you in the back bed or?
No, because it was a Ford Explorer.
Yeah.
It was a 2-door too.
Yeah.
So I just leaned the seat back.
That sucks.
Dude, it was a cold winter that year too, man. It
Yeah,
was
you're in
not
fucking
fun.
Boston. Were you working at all at anywhere else or just apprenticing full time?
I was working at a bar, but the shop I was at, they wouldn't let me leave before 9 p.m. most of the time. So you're talking, I only get to clock in from 11 to 2. So basically, I was making $100 a week to survive on.
Yeah, which is basically what just went to food.
Yeah, which was ramen, tuna, the 4-pack of muffins for breakfast. You know,
Yeah.
that was 4 days of breakfast. You know, so I was living skimpy, man.
Yeah,
I was going to Planet Fitness, same idea.
Yeah.
Like $10, I get to shower.
I remember. I will never forget it. Zach goes, "I can teach you how to live like a pirate."
Yeah, I eventually though. It was cutting into time though that I needed at the shop to draw and get better, because it was like a mile walk.
Yeah, what was the transition from how you were drawing to changing that over to tattooing?
I mean, dude. So starting at Black Label back then, drawing with them, I shifted there. Like they showed me.
So you had already got a little bit of the work done.
Yeah.
Going into Boston.
Yeah, dude. I still credit those dudes to teaching me so much drawing and painting, like how it should be done for tattooing.
Yeah.
Like there will never ever be any bad blood. That dude lit a fire under my ass, and I saw him later, and he, we had that conversation. He was like, "Yeah, man, you lived a mile away, and you couldn't get here at noon. You were here at 12:05. Like you should have been waiting on the door." He's like, "You didn't want it." He goes, "But look at you now. You have a bag of clothes in your truck, and you're doing it." He's like, "Maybe one day I'll see you down here tattooing. Who knows?" But he's like, "Just do the damn thing. Put in the fucking work."
Yeah.
Roger that, man. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to put in the work. A lot of people, it's weird now where I'm at, where and I feel like I can just get started now. Like, it's like there's so much more work that is going to be put into me making this what I want it to be. And then sometimes I see like talented people, and then you start questioning like, man, like, are they going to want to do what I did? And the answer to most of that time is no. No one wants to do that.
Dude, I had so many people asking about apprenticeships and stuff. Not just like under me, but just how to get one in general, this and that. Like, they want to know. I go, dude, if you're not willing to be homeless and work at the shop 7 days a week, open to close, then you don't want it. You don't want it enough. You don't want it enough. Like, because that's what I had to do. I'm not saying that it needs to be that road for you, but you need to put in that kind of work and effort, man. Like, it was not fun.
You had to sacrifice. A lot of sacrifice.
You have to sacrifice to get what you want. Like, if it was easy, everybody do it.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, like, you hold it very sacred, very close to your heart after you earn
When did they, they kind of tell you that you could start tattooing?
That was a long journey because at the shop I was actually apprenticing at, I started at, it went south. It was never going to happen. They were never going to teach me. Like, it just wasn't working. And I had to bail. I had to go.
How do you know when it's time to leave a situation like that?
I got accused of stealing supplies that I didn't even know how to use yet.
Yeah.
They're telling me I was stealing needles, inks, whatever. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how to set up a machine yet.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And it just wasn't going to work. So I said, you know what? I'm out of here, man. Like, this isn't happening. Nobody here wants to teach me, but they all want the free help. So I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I went to my best friend's shop and, asked him if I could start there. And dude, that was a long process. It wasn't like they just said yes. It was like a 3-month wait to hear back from them.
So what were you doing at that time? Still living out of your car and bouncing?
No, I had a shit apartment in Belmont. And the room was like enough for an air mattress.
So when you left the tattoo shop, then that kind of allowed you to start working at the bar more.
Yeah, and I picked up every shift that I could.
And then you could at least get a fucking apartment and start somewhere with a base.
Yep, and it was a horrible base, but it was a base. Went down a deep, dark path, dude, because I didn't know if I was going to get the job or not.
Yeah.
So
and everything up to this point you were fucked out of.
Yeah. Dude, I'm not bartending, Jesus Christ. I'm bouncing every night of the week. And then you know how it goes. You stay until like 5 a.m. And at the time I was getting linked up with some biker clubs. I was going hanging out with them until 7 a.m. every day. Mounds of blow and stuff. And dude, it was so bad, man. And then finally, one day, the boss came walking down the street that I was working on. He was like, I was hoping I was going to run into you here. I knew you worked down here. I was like, why don't you come have a beer with me? And gave me the job. Holy shit.
So while you were bouncing and doing all that stuff, you were still at the tattoo shop trying to apprentice and learn how to do all that stuff?
No, I literally had 3 months of just sitting in that little room in a cage, basically.
Yeah.
Rock bottom, not knowing what's going to happen in life.
Yeah. And then you stop giving a fuck.
Yeah, dude, it was hard, man. It was rough. And then they gave me the job and boom, right at it. Jumped in. And again, this is like all the people that were tattooing me my whole life. And I knew them. They're all my best friends. So it wasn't even like a weird get to know people and their how they are phase. I just went right in. But it was awesome. They knew what I'd been through. My best friend and mentor, he's the one who kind of gave him the inside track on what I had been through and what was going on and how dedicated I was. And they kind of cut all that bitch work for the apprenticeship out. Like, I still had to clean and do stuff, but not as much, not to the extent. You're not a slave. Yeah, I'm not watching in the back, dude, on a fucking fire escape.
Yeah.
They got me tattooing and learning in like 6 months because I had already done a year plus at that other shop. So they're like, you already drew. Out of the way. They're like, dude, you drew at another shop for a year, then you did nothing but bitch work for a year plus. So you've already got that stuff out of the way. Like, let's just get you tattooing.
Yeah.
And just started there. Fake skin. That's how you do it. Nowadays, you could do big skin.
What was the first tattoo you did?
The first one was on myself, and it was a little shark head.
Yeah.
So bad. Dude, it took like 3 months to heal.
So did a lot of like your like friends or dudes at the shop let you tattoo them before you started doing people?
So I tattooed myself 3 times. I did 3 on myself just because I thought I should. It's like a rite of passage, you know. I think you should do it to yourself first before you get a guinea pig.
Yeah.
But they have that fake skin now. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called
Yeah.
a pound of flesh. And before, like when I got into it, it was just the hands. But right when I started, they started making arms. So I bought an arm. And if you're smart, you can throw like 30 little pieces on there. So anytime that I could, I was just tattooing that thing, trying to get my hand moving.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I think, what did they do before? It was like
Pigskin, oranges, bananas,
yeah.
you know. This is a little bit cleaner. It's not the same at all. Like, at all, man.
Yeah.
If you tattooed people, like you tattoo the fake skin, dude, you cut holes in them. Like, you would cut right down to the bone. It's insane. Like, you have to jack the amps up, and you got to bury it in there. But it gets your hand moving on a curved surface and stuff. It gets you used to working on not something flat. You can tape it to an armrest, you know, do all that stuff. But after that, then they tell you start calling friends.
Yeah.
And the more you put in the work, the more tattoos you're going to do. So, which was easy because I worked in the bars for 13 years. And once people found out I was tattooing, every night they would come in and be like, when can I get tattooed?
There's, that's always something extra as well. Like where working in that bar scene is like you meet so many different people, and then you end up like building a clientele of people that like will fuck with your stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's where I started the clothing company, was selling it in I started selling it to drunk people at the bar, and then like, you know, nobody around here, or especially in the town, was doing anything like that.
People waking up, what's this t-shirt?
Yeah. So I would be like wearing something behind the bar, or like they would be like, hey, you know, like you're doing the t-shirt thing, and I was like, yeah. And I had my apartment upstairs, so like I made like a display room, because I had like, it was a 3-bedroom apartment, and it was just me, and it was an old like hotel, so like the rooms were massive. So the one spare bedroom, I like put shelves up and hung up the t-shirts, and I was like, these are the ones I have. And I took like an old snowboard and made a shelf out of it. Nice. And I would bring people up and be like, yeah, here's what I got. And then people would come in, and, you know, it was totally illegal what I was doing. Like I was running, I would charge the credit card and then take cash out of the fucking register.
The fuck out of here.
Yeah. Because like there wasn't Venmo.
Yeah,
like, there wasn't any of that shit. Yeah. There wasn't any PayPal. I don't even think was around.
PayPal was around.
Was it?
Yeah, but it was very there wasn't a phone version.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Like it was a website.
Yes.
You could log on.
Yep.
If you had a smartphone.
Yeah, it wasn't like now where like
depends on what year this was, but yeah,
like,
you might
could
not
like set shit up to like pay with your Apple phone now.
Yeah,
it's
you just
wild.
tap your phone. I'm
yeah.
like, what the
It's crazy
hell?
because like even now when I like spend money on Amazon, it's like you're not paying attention to the transaction. It's just a digital one. So it's not like it's not the same as when you hand somebody $100.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
It's just numbers. That's all it is. It's just numbers ticking up and down.
But yeah, that's what I was doing. You know, you meet so many people bartending and waitressing and bouncing and shit like that, and then, oh, hey, you tattoo? Oh, cool, I like Derek. I'll come down and get tattooed. It's you can get a lot of opportunity doing that. Yeah. I just don't like dealing with people like that anymore.
Yeah, dude, absolutely not. I'd rather tell people I was a garbage man at the bar than fucking tell them I'm a tattoo artist, because I don't want to have an hour-long conversation about a sleeve that you're never going to get because you live in another state. Why are we even talking about it?
I forgot all that bullshit that tattoo artist got. I used to go out with my friend Stacy, and they'd be like, oh, you know, sometimes you tell them because you want to get a client, but if somebody's drunk and like telling you their tattoo idea, it's a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah, it tests you. It tests you fucking hard.
Yeah.
Got to keep your composure.
So now you've gotten kind of like, you know, you start tattooing and you got your clients coming in, and when did you kind of like start really taking off and just doing it, and, you know, obviously getting a better apartment and different shit that you're now getting because you're working more? Like, what was it like to kind of, because a lot of people will get to the point of being what they want to do, but then, like, you know, like it said, it's like, well, there's a mountain of work on the other side. Now you have to like maintain what you're doing. You have to grow as an artist. You have to keep booking stuff. You can't rely on walk-ins and bigger pieces, and you need to start like doing more. When did it kind of shift that like you really started like getting into like the grind of being a tattoo artist full time?
I mean, honestly, right off the rip, because that shop that I was at is so busy that you don't even have a chance to breathe.
That's crazy.
It's wild, especially like coming from down south, like in Maryland, seeing how that shop worked, and then going back to Boston and seeing how much more business there is. You know, it's just constantly tattooing. Everybody is constantly tattooing. There's never a downbeat.
That's
Whereas
wild.
Down in Maryland, it was more of like a family team. Like if they weren't tattooing, they were all sitting there painting flash.
Yeah.
All around a big table, hanging out, having fun. And then the tattoo would come in and it's like, well, you're up, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. And most of the time they're getting stuff off the wall or what they were painting and shit. So like I got to see that aspect of it. Then I go up to where all these college kids are and it's just like, it's an assembly line, man. It was crazy.
That's wild.
Once they allowed me to start tattooing actual clients, not just my friends. So like the shop would actually give me clients. Dude, it was just go time. Like every single day I had tattoos lined up.
Yeah.
Obviously you're way slower.
How was it watching the progression of your tattooing grow?
Dude, hard. Like I can't tell you how many times we were on a street corner, busy street corner. Like I would do a tattoo, it didn't come out the way I wanted to, and I'm like, I'm just gonna walk out into Harvard Ave blindfolded, and whatever happens, man. If I get to the other side, I'm going to buy a lotto ticket.
It seems like
if a bus hits me, like I'm good.
It seems to be a very, it would be a very frustrating thing to learn.
Dude, it's the hardest thing ever. It's still to this day I'm learning, and that's the other point of it is, if you're not trying to progress, then what the fuck are you doing? Like, you need to keep growing and keep not just keeping up with the Joneses, but you need to push yourself as an artist to be better. You can't settle. So it's hard, especially when you're a perfectionist too. Nothing's good.
Yeah.
Like I'll look at a tattoo I did and it's cool. Like I just tattoo you. Oh, it's great. Let's take pictures, all this stuff. And then when you're out of there and I'm looking at the pictures and analyzing it, I just see nothing but the mistakes or how I can make it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tell people, I'm like, it's nothing personal. I like your tattoo, but I can do it better no matter what.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter that it looks great.
I'm like that with food.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter that it looks great and you're
shit.
happy, but I'm not happy yet. Like I could have done these couple little things differently.
I think a lot of people are like that, where they kind of hold themselves to an impossible standard, and it's almost like they sabotage themselves like that, because then you're constantly working to make it better, especially with food. Like there's a couple things I've dialed in, but every time I make it, like it does not, you know, with the smash burger, even something so simple as that, it's like I have all my techniques that I do, and like there's things that I do, and sometimes the mayo is not right, and sometimes the burger, like I can tell it's not correct, but everyone always likes it because you can kind of fuck it up a couple times and it's still just good ingredients. Yeah. But like, I don't, even when I'm like making them, like I'd say to Gina, like, that's the best one. Then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, this is the best one. Oh, this is that. So it's like, you're just constantly, I don't know. It's unhealthy, but it's also like healthy in the fact that like it kind of keeps you grounded. So like you don't lose your ego and, you know, I hate when anyone calls me a chef. I'm like, yo, I did not go to school. I'm a fucking fat line cook. Like that is the max of what I've done. There's so much I don't know how to do. Yeah. So like I always correct anyone who gives me that title, but like it's always important to keep learning and keep pushing yourself. Yeah. And where do you see yourself kind of going from where you're at now? Because it kind of seems like you got, you know, you got this work under your feet now and you're tattooing pretty heavily from what I follow on your Instagram, and then you know you got yourself a better apartment, I'm assuming.
Oh god, yeah,
and you got your truck, so like
my baby. My baby.
So like when you have all these, we also have to feed the meter, when we have all these things going on, you know, like where are you at now with everything?
Just like we were saying before, like never satisfied.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, things are going very well. Like, I have a good clientele, steady stream of work, all that stuff, even through the pandemic, all that shit. Now that the world's getting back to normal, I'd like to go back to doing some conventions. Maybe not that many, but I'd like to do a couple a year.
Traveling would be fun.
It was like, that was going to be my plan. Like, for 2020, my plan, I was going to be gone once a month, basically. I was going to be gone somewhere, whether it was a guest spot or a convention.
There's some cool ones around here. The Scranton one's my favorite one to go to.
That's what Keith was saying.
Yeah.
I would love to go down there and hang with Keith and and all that. But we'll see. We'll see when it is. Like I got to look through the schedule.
I used to go and just get I would get the hotel room for the weekend. Well, I was a vendor there for a while, but it's hard to sell T-shirts at a place like that. You know, everyone's there to get tattooed. If they got an extra $20, they're buying a shirt.
Yeah.
But then it's like, it's not what they're there for.
Right.
And like, so it's hard.
You'd be surprised, man. There are people that just show up just to go buy art and clothes and stuff.
There
all the time.
there is that angle, but sometimes it's hard to do that and sit there and not have anything sell.
Everyone's got stuff to sell.
Yeah.
So you're just in the sea of it.
So I've done a couple conventions, but the Scranton one, like I will go up there and just like like I know Alexis and Stevie P and and Keith and Becky are up there. So like sometimes it's like I'll go up on a Friday and stay over Saturday and then leave Sunday. So I mean I've already done that by myself and like just hung out up there and like went and got drinks and shit with a couple of the tattoo artists afterwards, and we'll just hang with Keith at the fucking booth. And he used to stay in the beginning, now he drives back and forth. But I love going to conventions. It was always fun to do that. I kind of stopped going because I can't stop buying art.
Yeah.
So like I
have to hide my wallet.
Yeah, dude. And I don't care about paying for art. Like I remember there's paintings that I have that they're not displayed. I'm gonna have them up in the next spot. That Stevie P did, and they were watercolors and they're originals. And
nice.
He didn't want to sell them, so he put a really high price on them when I asked about buying them. I drained my bank account and I had $6 left in my bank account and I bought them. There wasn't a lot of money in there.
Yeah, but like, that's not good about it.
Yeah. So like the couple $100 that I dropped on it, but like I'll just be like, I need that and I have to have it. Or like there's a Subway sign that they did for my friend Joel's. They were raising money for him when he was in the hospital, and like it was like one of those silent auctions. And like I was another time where I was like, I'm going to just take everything out of the account and I'll deal with that when I get home. But I have my art. So like,
it's mine.
Yeah.
Dude, that's how
and then
I'm
with
like,
cool,
books.
that just sits there.
Dude, I buy tattoo books nonstop.
Yeah.
Like anytime a new one gets released, I immediately buy it. Like, doesn't matter. They're $200, $300. It's like, done.
Yeah.
Need it. Need the reference. Need to look at pictures.
Yeah. I still do that with cookbooks. I'll buy that shit all the time.
Some nice Betty Crockers.
I got a lot of the Action Bronson stuff. I don't have any Betty Crocker cookbooks. I wish I did.
Jeez. Gotta hook you up for Christmas. Man.
Yeah. If anyone wants to send me Betty Crocker fucking cookbooks, please do. Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years, and like how you kind of want to, do you want to stay in Boston? Besides travel, like, do you see yourself just kind of always tattooing in Boston, or what do you want to do?
Right now, yeah. I mean, it's a never-ending revolving door of 18-year-old kids because there's 96 colleges in 20 miles or something like that. So you're always going to have some pissed-off teenager that wants to get back at mom and dad,
Yeah.
And then most of the kids going to school there, they're actually staying. So the population is just going through the roof right now. So it's a never-ending pool of work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what I would want, I want to get the hell out. Like, I'd love to get out to Montana, Wyoming, or something like that. Get out into the mountains, the wilderness, go ride my dirt bike, shoot guns, have fun.
Yeah.
Get away from the people. But I don't know if I can make a living out there. Like, not the same living,
Yeah. Doesn't have that foot traffic.
Yeah. So it's a tough one, man. It's a tough struggle of where I want to go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I love where I'm at, man. I love the shop, love the crew. I work with some of my best friends, freaking awesome. I get to dictate my own schedule and everything. It's freaking great.
Yeah.
I think I need to progress my art for sure. Like right now I'm getting to do a lot more of my style stuff that I want, like all the neo-trad stuff that I post. I still do black and gray and everything. I think everyone should be able to do it all. But yeah, I'd like to gear it more towards the neo-trad and traditional and push it that way. Try and do some new things. But yeah, that's that. I mean, just live life, progress, be healthy, get healthier.
Call of Duty. Play Call of Duty.
Too, right? Not play Call of Duty. Not play until fucking 4 a.m. Like I've done
I put
with
time
Keith.
limits on it now, man. I put time
Dude.
limits. Me and Keith are like, yo, it's 11:30 because you know that means you're done at 12:30.
Yeah.
And if you don't call that, because the last time we did that where we stayed up to like 3, I had a blast doing it, but like it fucked my whole next day up.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man. I can't
Yeah.
do this shit.
Well, speaking of Keith, we should go check him out. I've been wanting to do this for a while. It was cool to be able to do this. You know, you always talk about like being like, yo, come into town. And then the fact that you actually made it happen is awesome. We'll
worked
go
out
up
great.
and see Keith today. I never knew your story. I didn't know, you know, I know everybody kind of has a struggle and there's always, you know, not the easiest path, but it was interesting to hear, you know, how you got to where you're going, and it's impressive that you put up with that much bullshit and sacrifice. And I know this is similar. Everyone's got a similar path, but it was cool, you know, to finally kind of hear how you got from point A to point B. I want to give you a chance to plug your Instagram, or if anybody can get a hold of you or wants to check out your artwork or buy artwork or get tattooed, just give it. Just give out your Instagram.
The Instagram is Derek Cilla Artwork. So DerekCilla artwork.com, or at Instagram or whatever it is.
Cool. I will put all that shit in the links below. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's neveragainstudio.com. That has all the video, has all the audio. It has everything that you would need to find out what we're doing. The apparel links are in my Instagram, and go to Never Again Studio for Instagram, and that pretty much has everything I'm doing. Instagram is like a hub of all of it, so you can find everything I'm doing there.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah, Facebook's a cesspool, and I just basically repost to that. I don't go on it. I don't, you know, people just go on there and they're like, "Here's my feelings." Shut up.
It's a diary now.
Yeah, and some people don't. Some people don't realize that you're oversharing, and that nobody really gives a fuck about your parrot that died.
Poor Petey.
Thank you again, man.
Thank you, dude.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.